Oh no.
You're live. Hey, everybody. I'm Tristan. This is Heroes and Homebrew. I'm with RPG Dad, and our game got kind of sidetracked for various reasons. Well, for one reason, because Paul couldn't get his new headphones and microphone to work properly. He's been struggling with it, so we decided why not just do a live stream. Oh, gross. So, hey, Flynn, how you doing?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Yeah, just enjoying life. Quiet house this weekend, so
Nice. So yeah, we were supposed to play the second session of our Twilight 2000 game, which seems like it's been weeks now that we've been trying to play our second session of Twilight 2000.
yeah, I know. I blame my kids' carnival, at school for that.
I blame
my
being adults and having lives.
Well, yeah, that happens a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I picked up this thing the other day for a drive-through. I probably should have put a link in the description, but I didn't. Is what it is. You can go Google it and look it up on drive-through RPG. It's called Barons of Braunstein. It's supposed to be a version of the Braunstein rules, like the pre-Blackmore Braunstein rules. And I've taken a look at it. I really like it, but I don't think it's particularly what Braunstein actually was. But we're going to take a look at it together and talk about it, and that'll be that. That'll be our fun show. Okay, so let me share screen here.
That sounds awesome.
Window. There we go. This. All right, there we go. Barons of Braunstein. So it's a historical RPG war game. So there's no fantasy creatures in it or anything like that. It's basically like you have to look up the historical period of time you want to play in and study it and run it accordingly. So there we go. It is by James and Robin George of Old House Rules. I took a look at some of the other stuff they have on there. They have ones called Pits and Perils, which looks pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They all have this like old school like zine look to them.
Yeah,
it looks like it's like typed on a typewriter kind of thing. All right. Hold on, I'm going to change this to a single page view. I hate this double page stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so you get your table of contents there, appendix. All right, so let's read the introduction here. It is well known that the role-playing hobby sprang from war games sometime in the early 1970s. Less acknowledged is the role of the transitional Braunstein games, or Braunstein. I don't know how it's pronounced properly, but I call it Braunstein. To this evolution, being a missing link between the different modes of play. One night back in the day, Napoleonic wargamer David Wesley tried something a little different. Instead of having each person command an army, he set things between battles in the town of Braunstein, with players acting the part of important townsfolk, each having an agenda and personal goals within the game setting. Thus, a new hobby was born. Although Wesley was initially displeased with the result, finding it chaotic, his players enjoyed it and asked for more, and for a while, this style of gaming was referred to as a Braunstein in honor of the eponymous setting. There were third world scenarios and eventually medieval adventures in this style. Barons of Braunstein is a historical role-playing game, but one incorporating ideas and inspiration from the original Braunstein and designed for a medieval period, 4th to 15th century. Game concepts. Readers are likely familiar with role-playing games, but for the uninitiated, the following applies, noting that very often the concept of the game is the game, and that rules, for all their importance, are really secondary to the scheme of things. Okay, that's fair. Everyone just rewrites their own rules for every game they play anyway.
Yeah.
One person is the judge. Before any play can begin, they must first write an adventure, normally someplace to be explored, like a castle or ancient crypt. This might also include a town or village to purchase supplies before setting out, and all of this should be organized in detail before the first session so things will go smoothly. Or you can play like me and
just
organize literally nothing and do it randomly. Sometimes the judge will need to map out important areas, like the wilderness between towns. This can be accomplished using graph paper to the required scale of 1 square equals 10 feet indoors. Everyone else is a player, 1 to 5 or best. Each creates a character complete with their own abilities, equipment, and or personal strategy per the rules being used. Players must coordinate with the judge, who explains their setting and its restrictions well in advance of the first session, although much is left to the individual to decide. Okay, so we all know what a role-playing game is.
Yeah.
Dice, miniatures. It's funny because this actually says that you have to play with miniatures. Although their use is optional. Optional. It doesn't say you have to, but 25 to 28 millimeter miniatures painted to the participants' liking can be used to represent characters and enemies in combat, making movement and position important. In this case, 1 figure on the tabletop equals but a single combatant, and 1 inch equals approximately 10 feet, using a ruler or by sight. Or you use like squares like normal.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Marcus Aurelius became not Aurelius, Mercurius.
Yes.
Olycus became a member. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm familiar with him.
My first member. Are you
awesome.
Really?
Yeah. We've been in a lot of different chats.
Oh, cool. All right, so now we're getting into the actual rules of it. So the judge decides what period, the 4th to 15th century, and then chooses 1 or more books on the subject, the latter providing important details about social situation and monetary system use. So choose when you want to play, and then do a bunch of homework about it.
Oh God, no.
I mean, it makes sense. Like if you're playing a historical game, you kind of have to know.
Yeah. You want to know your setting. You want to know where you're at, what it was like then.
Exactly. After that, these rules can be used to create characters and resolve unpredictable actions in play. Barons of Braunstein is suitable to a range of historical periods, and enthusiastic judges can add or change anything, making their chronicles challenging and fun, which is, after all, the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so character creation. Character creation is extremely simple, although players must first master a few basic concepts. The system emphasizes choices and personal interaction over detailed mechanics, even if some rules are needed to preserve the element of risk. So, your traits. Characters are medieval men and women who have chosen a life of adventure. Accordingly, there are no classes or skills. That I like. I think that's very cool. As adventuring is what they did instead of doing something else. That said, they can fight and attempt any action available to an able-bodied adult and might enjoy other talents as per the following. Literacy. So you have to say if your character is literate or not.
Me no read no good.
No, well, I mean, if you're playing a historical game, not everybody could read back then. Actually, like very few people could. So
yeah.
Not every character will know how to read, especially in a medieval environment. And while there are obvious advantages to literacy, unlettered people or unlettered commoners enjoy certain benefits as well, and the player can decide which is the best for them. So if you're illiterate, you're a commoner or a country folk. Me got no book learning.
Pretty much.
With no book learning, it means you get a +2 to your luck. Although urban dwellers may also count, adding +2 to luck for being streetwise and leading hardy lives of work and toil. However, if you are a literate adventurer, you may come from the clergy or nobility, although wealthier commoners may also be. These can read and write in their own language, and Latin as the learned tongue, adding +1 if attempting to recall facts about history and or the chronicle. So there's only like 2 stats in this game. It's luck and whether or not you're literate for the most part.
Yeah.
Of course, being illiterate does not imply stupidity by any means, and such characters make excellent adventurers. But you can see how, like, I mean, like, we always frame this through like the fantasy view because we're used to playing like D&D and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're just the rules for this are very easy. You can add fantasy elements to it. But you can see, like, if you're playing an illiterate character, not being able to like read scrolls or something like that, that would be a giant pain in the butt.
Well, I mean, if you're going for a historical setting and you're X-naying the fantasy,
yeah.
I mean, what's the point? Either you're a noble or you're a farmer,
yeah,
or a soldier.
Yeah, exactly. Social class. As itinerant adventurers, most characters fall outside of medieval society, although some details of their background might be useful when establishing suitable backstory. So there's clergy, which includes Christian priests and nuns from wealthy stock, and priests or priestesses from old pagan faith, the latter being active through the 11th century. Christians are always literate, and pagans sometimes are, knowing the runic script. So your religion comes in. There's further on in one of the appendixes. There's they have stuff about like different religious like rites, like reading entrails and bones and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. Yes, a serf, Mercurius. You would be a serf. Note that while the Christianization of Northern Europe was complete by the 11th century, individual holdouts are always possible. I think if I were to play this in a historical context, I would do like the Romans in England or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Mercurius asks, do you get the benefit of the clergy? I don't think so. We might have to see. I don't think that being a member of the, like being from the clergy really does much. We'll look at one of the appendixes at the back of the book has like stuff about like paying giving money to the church in return for like favors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's got a list of religions of Asia and Europe. What were you saying?
Well, it's like you see like a lot of nobles and like kings and stuff would have their own personal clergy where they took advice from, and
it
really holds sway on a lot of things that they did, especially when it came to like converting
the heathens. very much like advisors to the court and stuff.
Yeah.
The commoners include craftsmen, farmers, and social outcasts like prostitutes and thieves. Nice. These are typically illiterate, though rich freemen can often hire tutors. You're charged with a crime you could get out of being executed by quoting a Bible verse. Is that true? That is, wow. I wonder how often that was used.
Well, it said love thy neighbor.
Yeah. It probably has to be like a significant chunk of verse, though.
Oh yeah.
But if that was, I would just remember a Bible verse just to have that in my back pocket. Oh, that was benefit of the clergy. Okay, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Nobility. If you're nobility can be unacknowledged bastards or second, third children having no land to inherit, a perfect motive for adventuring, whether by war or circumstance. These are normally literate, excuse me, unless part of a tribal or barbarian culture, although the latter will sometimes be literate in the manner of pagan priests.
Mm-hmm.
The above is just a guide for players to establish a consistent background for their characters. Being social outcasts, most will have varied histories, although the judge might impose some limitations, etc. So there's no not much of a mechanical, nothing really mechanical for what your background is, but
No,
it gives you more depth of character, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Whoops. Lady Luck. Here, this is where the second stat comes in. The luck. All characters begin the chronicle. The chronicle is what they call the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
With 10 points of luck, plus 2 if they happen to be illiterate, representing the skill and strength necessary to survive in difficult situations. Players can spend 1 luck performing any one of the following as the judge permits. So you can use what luck points you have to add plus 1 to any die roll, noting that the player can roll first and then decide to add the luck to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the maximum bonus is limited only by the total amount available. So if you have 10 luck, you can literally add plus 10 to your roll.
Yeah.
But then you have no luck, which will hurt you later.
Yeah.
You can survive an attack made against you, noting that some, like natural hazards and or traps, might require multiple points of luck to stay alive, scaling with the risk involved. So we'll see you later when it explains combat, but 1 point of luck negates 1 point of damage.
Mm-hmm.
If a character lacks sufficient luck to survive, death is inevitable, barring the use of armor and or intervention from the judge. Although just falling to 0 is not otherwise fatal unless subsequent injury occurs. Spent luck is recovered through rest, and this is explained more fully in the following unit. So yeah, if you take damage, you have to have luck. So say you take 4 points of damage, you have to have at least 4 points of luck to negate it. But if you're at 0, you're not dead, you're still alive, you're walking around. But if you take any more damage, you don't have luck to negate it, and that's what kills you.
Yeah, well, I think at that time period, a sneeze would kill you then.
It's the common cold was a death sentence.
Yeah, pretty much. You bathe more than once a week, to them was a death sentence too. So
yeah. All right. With the above concepts understood, character creation becomes simple, starting with background as follows. So character creation is be super quick. So using 25 words or less, the player describes their character's name, gender, personal history, noting that fighting ability and literacy need not be referenced. Background helps the player make their character unique and might also indicate certain skills like being a monk or blacksmith's apprentice. So they have an example here. Bodvar was a Viking raider who abandoned his crew to seek his fortune abroad and learned Latin from a blind priest he met in England. But from that you say, okay, well, he can fight, he can probably sail because he was probably a Viking, so he could probably sail a bit. He knows Latin, so he's literate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not literate. He can speak Latin.
Yeah.
Notice that while literacy is not specifically addressed, it forms the basis for some of Bodvar's background. And as a Viking invader, fighting prowess. So yes, he is literate. As a Viking invader, fighting prowess is a given. The character is ready for the next step: armor, weaponry, and/or starting equipment, and other starting equipment. So it fleshes out the character. Mercurius, yeah, he would. A Viking would probably know runic script, or at least specific Viking runic script, because there's many different runes. But yeah, I would say he would definitely know that. Armor and shield. So there's only, if I'm not mistaken, there's only two classes of armor. There's either wearing armor or not wearing armor.
Uh-huh.
So those characters wishing to wear armor begin the game having a set, although only if they intend to use it. Which is a weird specification I found when I read this the first time.
Yeah.
Like, well,
so,
why wouldn't you use it? But it goes on to say, like, because you can't say, oh, I want a suit of armor, and then like the first game session go and sell it for more coin. And it specifies not doing that, which is weird because it's never occurred to me that someone would do that.
No, honestly, yeah, I don't think I've ever come across that in any ever game I've ever played in D&D. Like, oh yeah, I just want to sell my armor.
Yeah, unless you found a new set that's much better, and you're going to sell like the old one.
Yeah, exactly.
So this can be anything from hide to chain or plate mail for the period, with no distinctions made except where noted by the judge. Again, characters cannot just take armor for personal resale, but must actually intend to use it. Yeah, it is a bit metagame. We're curious.
That's guidelines and actual rules.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like don't you resell this armor? You get 10 silver. That's it.
10 silver, 5 at most.
Should an armored character take enough damage to actually die in combat, they revert to 10% of their total luck and stay alive. Although the armor is damaged beyond use and must be repaired 10 silver pieces or replaced before receiving its benefit again. So if you're wearing armor and you hit zero or more luck, then whatever your total of luck was, you go to that. So if you had 12 luck, you go to like 10%. Was what? 3?
How's it?
2?
If you're rounding up, it'd probably be 2. If you're rounding down, it'd be 1.
Yeah, I think they round up. They say it. That was my wife grunting for some reason. Optionally, players can take a shield, but never both to start unless they can otherwise afford to pay each separately. So you can have armor or a shield, but you can't have both when you start, unless you've got the money to pay for it. These allow the character to ignore up to 3 points of damage from a single attack, after which the item is ruined and must be repaired or replaced in the same manner as armor at the same price, 10 silver pieces. I like that rule. I like that, like, your armor is protecting you, but now you gotta get it fixed. Your shield protects you, but now it's gotta get fixed.
Okay.
Note for that, for game purposes, armor and shields captured or found on adventures have only a 1 in 6 chance of being usable without repairs, making regular visits to town for maintenance essential. I like that too, because you're finding stuff. It's not necessarily good, but like,
well, that makes sense. I mean,
yeah, because like whenever I've played D&D, specifically like,
this
like
is like
5e, whenever I find stuff, it's just
brand new shiny. Like
it's either good quality or it's bad quality, but it's all usable.
Yeah.
But I like that it's a 1 in 6 chance that it's actually functional. Armored characters cannot climb, hide, sneak, or swim, although exceptions to the latter can be made for those wearing hide or leather if the judge otherwise permits. I would make the way it's phrased here. It says exceptions can only be made for swimming if you're wearing hide or leather, but I would say sneaking you'd be able to wear, like sneaking you'd be able to do in leather, like unless it's the creaking of the leather, like you know what I mean.
I would think that leather crafting would be good enough to where you could sneak.
Yeah. Unarmored characters may, of course, attempt all of the above, making this an attractive option and a good strategy for those wishing to act stealthily. So that's kind of the trade-off is like, well, you can do all of these things, but you're not protected, or you're protected, but you can't do this stuff.
Yeah.
Characters move 50 feet per round, 10 feet climbing. Unless armored, it's 30 feet per the game rules and the judge's discretion. What did Mercury say? If an adventurer is dead, his armor is bound to be damaged. I never thought of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're finding armor just laying there or on a body, it's 100% is not in good condition.
Yeah. I mean, you get a pike through you. That's through your armor. It's useless.
It's going to be useless. You're going to have to get it repaired. Like, if it looks like it's really well crafted and like really good quality, but it's damaged that won't actually add protection, you got to like get it repaired, then fine.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's almost not worth taking.
Yeah.
Weaponry. Each character likewise begins with a single weapon of the player's choice, and unlike armor, captured and or found items are fully usable, subject to all the following. So it's only armored that's not necessarily usable. Weapons are usable. Bows have a range of 200 feet. And after everything, it just says judge can adjust this. Can adjust this if they want. Oh, shields cannot be used, obviously.
Well, yeah.
One-handed melee weapons include hand axes and swords that, being smaller, leave one hand free for a shield. Some, like the aforementioned axe, can be thrown 30 feet, making them versatile. And then two-handed weapons require both hands, making shield use impossible, although their larger size grants +1 to damage scored. And then it's got, like, unlike the giant like equipment list that you get in most modern games, it's got like 6 things on here, 5 things. You got your bow, range of 200 feet, crossbows, long and short bows. Asterisk, judges can enforce a minimum range of 30 feet. Melee, axes, maces, swords, etc. One-handed, you need is a 10-foot range. Enables shield use, no bonus. Two-handed, 10-foot range, no shield, deals +1 damage. Requires at least 20 feet free space to wield properly, and then thrown melee, goods, daggers, spears is 30, 50 feet. That's pretty, like, keeps it really simple. Yeah. Like, all of this does, you'll see the combat, the way the damage works, but it's like a 2d6 roll.
Okay.
So it keeps it super simple. It's not like, well, it does this type of damage at this range, and this is how it works.
Yeah, this is your encumbrance. This is your
exactly. Characters begin their adventures with a backpack large enough to hold 15 items and 1,000 silver pieces, food and water for a full game week, and whatever armor, shield, and or weapon they chose. Noting that the maximum load for anyone is 20 items. So it keeps encumbrance super simple. 20 items. That's all. This excludes armor and weapons carried either on a belt or in the pack. Silver pieces are the monetary standard in the system, and all characters begin having 1d6 times 10 silver pieces. That's actually, like, I think it's 3d6 for most games, right? 3d6 times 10 gold?
It's 3D, for fantasy is 3d6 times
generally,
10 is usually, generally. But if we're going historical accurate, then silver pieces.
Yeah, you'd be like, if you're going adventuring like this, you'd be broke. Like, you're not starting with 180 gold.
Yeah.
As rolled, noting that most equipment is already provided and many things can be won on adventures. And costs vary with availability and location, making an equipment table unnecessary. I like that. Like, there's no equipment table, just figure it out.
Yeah.
Rather, items cost 1d6 silver pieces times a multiplier based on rarity. I like that. So common items is just 1d6. Exotic or large is 1d6 times 10.
Yeah.
And rare, very large, 1d6 times 100. So that's kind of like, I want to buy a longsword. Okay, roll d6. 30 silver pieces. It keeps it super simple. And then, of course, the Judge has final say, and blah blah blah. And it shows a sampled character. So name, might, gender, female, literacy, illiterate, +2 luck. Luck 12, social class commoner. Background, might is a young street urchin with no knowledge of her birth name. Although willing to steal, she is protective of the weak and helpless. Equipment, backpack, bedroll, knife, picks and tools, rations. Experience 0, treasure 12 silver pieces. That's your character.
Yeah, it's pretty bare bones.
Like I think it's super cool that it's like it leaves it more up to the imagination. It's really, really relying less on look at your character sheet and figure out what you can do and like tell us what you're going to do. As characters go on adventures, they gain valuable experience and become better at what they do per game rules that follow. Okay, so doing things is a 2d6 roll.
Mm-hmm.
So simple is under 7. Like I don't even know why that's there. If you don't have to roll for it, then
simple, no roll.
Easy is 7 or better. Elementary with little interference. Moderate 9 or better. Harder distractions present, and difficult is 12 plus.
Okay.
And again, you can add as much luck to these rolls as you have available to you.
Yeah.
Note that simple actions can easily become difficult, like moving when bound and gagged, as per the judge. Okay, fair enough. The player does not roll dice because their character is automatically... some actions are easy, so the player doesn't roll.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Knowledge. Characters may attempt to recall facts about the game world, like the location of some holy place, etc. This does not apply to solving problems and never does anyone's thinking for them. Strength. Feats of physical strength must never exceed the limits of human ability, although this varies and can be remarkably powerful. Acts of stealth. Characters who forego the use of armor can attempt feats of speed or stealth, resulting in fast, mobile, and generally versatile heroes, albeit vulnerable in combat. These may climb walls at 10 feet per round, hide and sneak, and or steal small light objects.
Mm-hmm.
And pushing luck. Literate characters add +1 when reciting facts. Otherwise, characters can spend luck, adding +1 to any die roll. They can roll first and decide whether or not to do this. I think that's interesting. Like a lot of games, it's you have to decide whether you're going to use it before you roll. This is like roll, see if you pass, and then use as much luck as you need.
Yeah. Or you get ones where you don't have to announce it first, but they only let you use like one at a time.
Yeah, there's that too. And then, where was I? Oh, yeah. Note that running out of luck in this way does not result in death unless the character later enters combat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the melee. Combat is divided into rounds, which representing 1 minute of action, moving and or exchanging blows where applicable, noting that time here is approximate and may vary greatly. The order of action. At the start of each round, both sides roll a d6 for initiative.
Yeah.
That's pretty familiar.
Yep.
One player rolls for the party and the judge for enemies. With the higher result, moving and acting or attacking first. The one thing is there's no modifier to this initiative roll.
No.
Combat must involve risks, so in the event of a tie, initiative goes to the enemy. That's interesting.
Normally it'd go to the players.
Right? Normally it'd be like, it's a tie, so you guys get it. Yay, you. No. Movement. Combatants move 50 feet per round, 30 feet if you're armored, and may attack if within range at the end of that movement. Optionally, the side winning initiative adds +1 to attack dice, but only when armed and ready to fight, noting that luck may also be spent to do so. So that's interesting too. So if you're ready to go, you can add 1 to your attack.
Yeah.
That's weird. Resolution. Once again, attacks are resolved by rolling 2d6 with damage scored per the following combat table. So if you roll 2 to 8, 0 damage. So it probably glanced off the armor. 9 to 11 scores 1 hit, may indicate fatigue. And then a 12 scores 2 hit. Normally represents a physical blow. Two-handed weapons add +1 damage. Nope, Mercurius. Before I say no, there might actually be a mention about surprise, but I don't think it's a standard like roll for this every time. So you see how you're not rolling weapon damage; it's just what you roll is how much damage it's going to do.
Yeah.
Targets must spend 1 luck per point of damage to survive. Excuse me. Otherwise, death results. So if you get 2 hits, you have to spend 2 luck to survive it. So it's not that it's draining your luck until you've run out of luck and you're dead.
Yeah. So yeah. So luck's got multiple purposes in this game.
Yeah, exactly. So. If you're armored, you get 10% of total luck, and you continue fighting, as explained earlier. But that only works once.
Yeah.
Death and healing. Yeah. Any target having insufficient luck any target having insufficient luck to survive will die. Otherwise, characters recover through rest at a rate of 1 per day spent camping in the wilderness, and 1d6 at an inn or hostel. So that's interesting. Using armor, characters having armor revert to 10% of total luck. We've seen that before. Rounding up. So it's rounding up. So illiterate types, 12 luck, get 2. It's 1d2, rounding up. Noting that experienced adventurers having greater luck should benefit even more.
Yeah.
Shields allow a character to ignore up to 3 points of damage, the maximum possible in most situations. Note that this might apply to traps and certain natural hazards, provided a shield would be useful, like swinging blades or machine-fired spears. So, to answer your question, Mercurius, no. Surprise is not a regular thing in this. It's I presumably, if while you're playing, there might be situations where you would see if the characters are surprised, or you just might say, hey, you're surprised, or you've surprised the enemy. But it's not a standard, like, we're going to roll to see if you're surprised.
Now, like, the durability of, like, say, a shield or your armor in combat, now is that going to, like, you take that 3 points of damage, is that just, that shield's done?
Yeah, the shield's done unless you get it repaired or you replace it.
Okay.
And then it has a sample combat, which we won't go over because I think we get it.
Yeah.
Natural hazards. Drowning characters suffer 1d6 damage per round unless recovered. Otherwise, death results. Falling, 1d6 per 20 feet dropped, not 10 feet. And the judge might break a leg unless the player spends additional luck to prevent this from happening. Assume 1 to 3 points. So the way this is written, it sound like, it's just the way it's written makes it sound like the judge might break their actual leg. Poison. While most poison is delivered in food or drink, being the stuff of assassinations, venomous animals like spiders and snakes might also be encountered in exotic locales. Either way, poison inflicts damage by strength and potency, being weak 1d6 or strong 2d6. So poison could really mess you up.
Yeah.
It's got some sample traps here: bear trap, covered pit, poison needle, projectile, swinging blade. They all do 1 to 2d6 damage. Bear trap, victim is restrained for 1d6 rounds. That's something I haven't seen a lot in our games. Is well, I'm not necessarily like our game specifically, but in other games, bear traps.
Yeah. Well, didn't we did that? You had
Did we
that
have a
one.
bear trap?
I in your
Oh yeah, it's right in the white box game.
white box game.
Yeah, there was a bear trap. Yeah, Margarius breaking a leg in an adventure would not be great. Breaking a leg in like the 7th century Europe would be awful. Like that would just not be awesome at all. Note, others are possible. These just represent real world types. Okay, it goes into how to place traps and descriptions of them. I think we all understand that. But experience, so how you go up in levels. At the end of every playing session, each character is awarded 1 or more experience points as follows. You go on an adventure, you get an experience point.
Okay.
If you perform extraordinarily, you get an experience point.
Okay.
If you complete a quest, you get 2 experience points. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Simple.
Yeah. Experience is cumulative, so a character who participates in an adventure and performs well would get 2. For every 10 experience points awarded, the character adds 1 luck, making them more powerful adventurers and allowing them to better survive in combat, improve their die rolls, as well as getting more benefit from armor, etc. So that means like you have to play 3 quests probably to get 10 experience points just to push your luck up by 1.
Yeah.
Which means you know how everyone says like playing low level D&D is more fun than playing high level D&D.
Mm-hmm.
This looks like this game is just all low level D&D.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like it would take a very long time for you to be like super powerful. You might get very rich, but you're not going to be like very strong.
Yeah, that's the way I'm reading this luck is like it's everything. It's your hit points, it's your rerolls, it's
Yeah.
I'm like I feel like your character starts and leaves the doorway. He's got a 1 in 12 chance of dying before he even leaves the town.
Yeah, exactly. It looks pretty fun. I think that'd be a blast. So Barons of Braunstein uses medieval setting. Although the judge has considerable freedom when choosing the period, most should derive from the following. The Dark Ages, which is the 4th to 10th century, which is the fall of the Roman Empire, and the Middle Ages, which is the 11th to 15th century, Crusades and Christianization. Includes the Viking era in Britain and France. Note that it's not really necessary. It's just the designation Dark Ages as a period. It remains useful.
Yeah.
Rather than reconstruct history here, judges are directed to the many excellent books on the subject. These rules, coupled with the right reference, provide everything needed to get started, as history is the best and most richly detailed setting of all. Like, yeah, but it is. I feel like it's way more of a pain in the butt to research history for your game and to like make it realistic than to just make it all up yourself.
Yeah, or you could be like, nobody suspects the Inquisition.
Yeah. Like, I get it. Like, it would be super interesting to play in like, 6th century England, but like there's a lot you'd have to research to like
Oh yeah, I
really
mean,
do it justice.
yeah, because at that time everything's still made out of wood. I don't think you barely even have a stone castle or anything too much anywhere unless it's Roman built.
Yeah, or like I think at that time there's 5 kings of England, if I'm not mistaken. It was cut up into different provinces.
Yeah, it's
So
more
there's
like.
like 5 kings of England.
Mhm.
Mercurius says 5e people would have an aneurysm playing this.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, they would.
I think it'd be very like unless I think like a lot of people would have a hard time, at least at first. Like people who are like have played quite a bit of old school like
Yeah,
games, it would be
either.
easier. But
Yeah, you'd have to be exposed to the old school, or you'd have to be very open to playing
yeah,
old school.
yeah, and have like some idea of why this is the way it is.
Yeah.
When and where, having selected when the chronicle takes place, where becomes a simple matter of preference, noting that certain periods lend themselves to specific places like Britain during the Norman invasion, although such events may only serve as backdrop. Then it's got languages. Setting chosen determines what languages are spoken. That kind of makes sense. Knowing that educated types will know Latin, at least in Western Europe, making this a serviceable common tongue among literate folk. That makes sense. Latin was widely spoken for a very long time.
Yeah.
Optionally, the judge can allow characters to spend experience points learning another language, provided they have a teacher, perhaps another character in the party, spending experience as shown. 1 experience, basic, some words known. 2 experience points, discussion possible, and 3 experience points, excellent, fully fluent, etc. I would maybe think about like putting a time to that. Like, like, well, you're not gonna just because you spent the 3 experience points doesn't mean you're fluent in it overnight. Like, it's going to take time.
You would say it's going to be months, if not
Yeah.
years,
Yeah,
depending
exactly.
on.
Yeah. Curious, have arguments over whether you would be charged by an ecclesiastical or secular court. Yeah. There's so much you could do with this, but it looks like it would be easy enough to make it fantasy too if you wanted to, or really modify them for any sort of genre.
Well, even then, we know that there's source books out there. There are games that are more historical based. I mean, you got like Lion and Dragon, and Pundit's got the new one. That's the Polish setting.
Yeah,
I can't even think of the name of it right now, and then you got Castles and Crusades Codex books, which do hit like the Eastern Europe and the Nordic and the German and the Celtic and all that.
Well, even AD&D second edition had a bunch of source books for different time periods. They had a Roman one,
exactly.
they have the Vikings one.
Yeah, you got your you got your Oriental.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate that one.
Well, yeah, you don't know how accurate, but still, it gives you that flavor of the time. But
yeah. Good communication is important, and the judge must ensure that the characters can at least speak to one another while otherwise enforcing language restrictions when meeting foreigners. Well, that makes sense. Like, you don't want everyone in the party to be speaking a different language. But it would be interesting knowing that there's all these different languages if they go to a different country, like Egypt, say, in like the 6th century. Like, they're not going to be able to communicate with anyone.
Yeah, or do you think of like the 13th Warrior?
Yeah, exactly.
But
eventually, because they're immersed, they would learn the language.
Yeah, he had to learn it over time, but before they made their destination, he was already picked up on the language.
Yeah. Curious says the book you're thinking of is Baptism of Fire.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
I haven't looked at any of his stuff.
No, I really haven't. But
I know of it, but
yeah.
doesn't really interest me that much. Then it's got a list of languages. Here we go. Dungeons. Dungeons might include natural caves, castle cellars, or crypts. The latter being trapped against grave robbers, especially Egyptian burials and the like, all believed to contain great wealth. There you go. That's dungeons. Town adventures often involve talking to people and finding clues, although major confrontations requiring miniatures, of course. God forbid you play Theater of the Mind. With the city guard or robbers can sometimes happen. Although I like playing with miniatures. It's always fun to play with toys. Wilderness forays might be incidental to the main event, such as traveling to some shrine or nearby town, although they can also involve bounties on wanted criminals.
Yeah.
So you can see, like, so I know these are not like exactly how they played Braunstein. They like it is a sort of, it's like someone taking what they know about how they played like pre-Blackmore and Blackmore and like trying to
slap some rules into it.
Yeah, it's like it's D&D, but just not D&D. It's like just that side of D&D.
Yeah.
But again, like you can see like how you could take this and end up with OD&D.
Oh yeah.
Mapping the game. Underworld and indoor areas should be mapped on graph paper or similar material with one square equaling 10 feet. Above ground or wilderness locations can be mapped if the judge finds it necessary, again using graph paper at a scale suitable to the adventure. Assume that characters move 1 mile per hour above ground, allowing sufficient time to rest. Otherwise, they can travel at double speed for a maximum of 20 miles per day. Okay, so that's pretty standard. Although doing so is exhausting, such that players roll all dice at -1, barring luck. Interesting. So if you travel, so basically you would travel 10 miles per day, because it says double speed takes you to 20 miles. So travel 10 miles per day or 20 miles per day exhausts you.
Yeah.
Graph paper, no damn hexes. I like hexes. Because it allows for random movement more easily, and it has all the compass points like north, northeast. But again, I've seen graph like
you can do 1 mile hexes.
Yeah, you can do 1 mile squares and stuff. What is it? The basic fantasy RPG book. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Morgan's Fort?
Yeah. That one, the map is it's squares, not axes.
Yeah. Well, you got the one map that's like basically the world, but I think they put it as like, it's like, I want to say it's like 24 miles hexes on that map.
Oh, maybe.
I'd have to look at it again.
Non-players. During the game, characters will encounter many people referred to invariably as non-player or supporting characters, all of them created and run by the judge as the scenario requires. Some are friendly, like clergy or townsfolk, while others, including robbers and rival parties, must be overcome sometimes over the course of a chronicle. So, non-player characters are non-player characters.
Yeah.
When I was young, graph paper was easier to find than hexes. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah,
because everyone's got graph paper for math class and stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could go to the dollar store and buy a pad of graph paper now. Yeah. So, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Like, graph paper, you have it in school and you just draw your maps in class instead of listening. Non-players use the same rules as players, but luck may vary as befits their ability and purpose in the game. So here's like basically for non-player characters or like opponents, this is how it's laid out. You have your brigand, which has 1 to 5 luck. They're robbers and common thugs. A commoner has 6 to 10 luck, farmers and tradesmen, and a non-player 10 or more luck, important friends or villains. Action movement based on armor worn, if any. Note that brigands are stock enemies, not always the strongest, but dangerous in numbers. This results in dramatic battles with many foes that are deadly but not overly drawn out. Commoners are hardy folk, having greater skill and fortitude in general, not to mention being more likely to use luck to improve rolls, making them dangerous if crossed. So it's kind of interesting. It makes the like your bad guy is basically kind of weaker than the average person. Not necessarily weaker, but like more likely to fall.
Well, yeah, if you're the farmer, you're the tradesman, you're working all day. You're working sun up to sundown. So yeah, you're going to be in a better shape versus a brigand who's, I'm just going to rob somebody today.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's fair. Other non-players like knights or enemy lords are comparable to characters and harder to overcome. Indeed, the Chronicle may benefit from recurring villains who return to fight again. Excuse me. Tooth and claw. So there's animals that could hurt you. It's got like some sample animals here. A bear, bull. So it's got the name, how much luck they have, their movement, and their damage. A bite, 2 claws, and plus 2 damage.
I figured a bear would be almost on par with a bull, but
you would think so. Definitely, the bull would probably move faster, but it doesn't look like.
Well, I don't know. A bear can move,
That's true.
Yeah.
When it's on all fours, yeah. Of course, the judge can add others like crocodiles when traveling in exotic or foreign lands, comparing to the above. That's interesting. So beasts of burden. Horses have 5 to 10 luck for some reason. Although being more passive, use it only for purposes of personal survival. Some can be outfitted with armor called barding that functions as the usual sort. Horses allow their rider to travel at high speed, 3 miles an hour or 30 miles per day, without tiring the character, and may bear up to 3,000 silver pieces or 20 regular items. So there's how we're carrying all our money,
gear,
and stuff. Yeah, bears are pretty fast and can climb, says Mercurius.
Yeah. So watched a guy get chased by one, and he was on a mountain bike trying to outrun it. This thing did not want to give up.
And of course, it's got the standard. The judge can change this if they want. Often on the fly, although human encounters are always more challenging, and the greatest enemy is often one's fellow man. So then it goes into antiquity. It says basically in antiquity. Alternatively, judge with little effort can introduce firearms, taking their chronicles into the 16th, 17th centuries, as the old world still survived enough to make these rules work. Note that the earliest firearms had limited accuracy and took time to reload. So you have the arquebus, which has a -1 to attack, a range of 200 feet, and 1 round to reload. And the matchlock is a -2 to attack, 100 feet range, and takes 2 rounds to reload. Assume all firearms deal 1d6 damage. But this is what I don't get. It says all firearms deal 1d6 damage, but then you said before, if you roll 2d6, like that's what your damage is based on. So I don't know what that is.
Wasn't it? Oh, yeah, because you're not rolling to see if you actually hit. You just roll to see what the damage is.
Well, it's got your attack, so you have a -1 and a -2 to attack. Unless you roll your damage separately for the firearms. The greater damage afforded by such weaponry brought an end. Oh, I see what it is. So yeah, you don't. The damage with the firearms is not the same. Whereas before, the damage is based when you're using swords and stuff. It's based on that 2d6 attack roll,
Mhm.
and there's no like defense to it.
Yeah. Well, you
This
gotta think
one, you deal like
you-
looks like you attack and then you roll damage.
yeah, your accuracies are going to be a lot less with those versus your hand weapons are going to be more visceral and up close.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's interesting. All right, wealth and riches. Adventurers seek riches either by taking work and/or capturing treasure. For game purposes, wealthy persons or rival adventurers may carry the maximum allowed, not including jewelry or material wealth, which might take the form of exotic goods. Note that characters must earn every scrap, this being the ultimate reason for adventuring. So, your money.
Well, yeah, it moves the world.
Oh, there we go. It goes into advanced rules. So you have cover and movement penalties for light and heavy armor.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the basic rules is just wearing armor, not wearing armor. Now it's splitting it into light and heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And recover. So when you're wearing heavy armor, instead of the recovering 10% of your total luck, you were with heavy armor, you recover 20% of your total luck, which is nice. Once again, the judges will study the historical period they wish to chronicle and research the armor typically worn, noting here that this will vary by culture and or region. Yeah, so
yeah,
a lot of homework goes into running one of these games.
Yeah, because every culture, one culture's probably got better steel than the other one, or better armor or whatever.
Yeah. Shields may now, at the judge's discretion, resist 3 hits of damage incrementally instead of all at once. Players can decide how to do this, resulting in a more tactical combat experience. Shield walls. That's it. It's interesting because it has the number of shields and what it requires to hit someone in the shield wall.
Oh, so you're actually you're getting a difficulty with that. Then that's what I assume. Then
yeah. So effective shield walls may be employed by having multiple warriors interlock their shields and strike with axes, spears, or swords from within, such that all attacks against them are rendered more difficult to execute based on the number used. So if you have 3 to 6 shields, only your front is protected, your flank is exposed, and an attacker requires a 10 or better to hit. 7 to 9 shields, front and sides, 11 or better to hit, and 10 plus shields, you're basically completely covered, front, sides, and top. That's the typical like Roman. And you need a 12 or better to hit. Your movement is reduced by 10 feet. And any successful melee hit against the wall has a 3 in 6 chance of reducing the shields by 1. Noting here that these are not necessarily lost in the process.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. All right. Go. Siege. Characters may find themselves participating in sieges under conditions similar to the above. These might be actual historical engagements or part of an alternate timeline. And it's got all these rules about storming the walls, catapult, rams, siege towers, tunneling. So it's got I like the tunneling under the wall has a 2 in 6 chance of having the wall collapse on you.
I don't think I see that one very much. Tunneling under a wall.
It happened. They did it, but
yeah. But I'm saying like in a normal like D&D fantasy game that usually never comes up. I mean, not a lot of
rare. Like
yeah,
I see it all the time where people ask about how to sort of do mass combat in D&D.
Yeah.
But I don't know how often it actually happens. And this certainly doesn't go into this kind of detail with like sieges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Arrows are no use against larger structures like castle walls and siege weaponry, obviously.
Yeah.
But deadly against any crews. Yeah, it goes into like shooting arrows from above on people trying to climb ladders and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a list of, like, it has like a timeline.
Okay.
There's like some important battles in it.
Yeah.
Should characters come in contact with a plague carrier and do not otherwise protect themselves, there's a 2 in 6 chance of contracting the disease and succumbing in 2d6 game days, although any who survive beyond the first week will recover fully.
Nice.
So you might die of the black plague.
Might die of the black plague. There you go.
Right.
I mean, that's possible. I mean, that it would be the time period, you know.
Yeah. The judge can introduce real magic and witchcraft to their game, although doing so will dramatically alter the nature and feeling of an otherwise historical setting. Traditionally, this involved conjuring spirits, whether those of the dead and demonic or pagan ones, as befits the chronicle and or period employed.
You know, that wouldn't bother me one bit. I would take that. Just for, I don't know, because I always like that. And I think it...
Yeah.
I know, unless you really want to go completely historical, but I like that. You can add the supernatural element to it.
I would definitely add that. It's kind of like, it adds that like a bit of magic without it being like fireball.
Yeah.
You know?
But that also gives you the excuse of, well, I'm creating an alternate timeline. Yeah. And I can kind of fudge what I want in history.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Commanding spirits uses 1d6 luck, which also indicates the number of rounds the summoned power lingers before returning from whence it came, whether hell or the spirit world, etc. These are always non-corporeal and cannot be engaged or otherwise slain, passing through walls and or moving 50 feet per round as the summoner demands. Spirits will automatically, no dice required, execute any actions available to a normal character, attacking for 1 hit per round against a single target within 10 feet, and consistently performing at double human intellect or physical strength. Characters desiring to use magic must declare this ability in their backgrounds, noting that they cannot wear armor or shield and may only perform 3 magical acts a day, this being difficult to master. Okay. It says like conjuring spirits from you keep magic super simple, super basic.
Yeah.
And
I still don't like the fact that magic users don't wear armor, but you know, like even leather, you know, it's like I've never been a fan of that. But
I kind of get not letting magic users wear like plate mail.
And that I can understand,
but leather armor, like why not?
Like,
why can't they wear like leather armor under their like, or even on top of whatever they're wearing? Like in Excalibur, in the movie Excalibur, Merlin's wearing armor, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like he's wearing. Doesn't he wear full armor at one point?
I think I don't know. I can't remember now.
He's got that weird like metal headpiece on him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was always the argument with old school like D&D was, well, he's magic. The metal armor would, mess with it. The spell or any kind of armor reduces the component, like the hand gesture components of the spell armor.
I've never read Jack Vance, but I think that's I
think it is a fancy thing, but well.
Tactical combat. Some players may want a faster, more lethal game in the style of traditional wargaming, and this is easily accomplished by adjusting the combat tables for greater damage as per following. So 2d8 damage, 2d8 does 0 damage, 9 does 1 damage, 10 does 2 damage, maximum for smaller weaponry, 11 does 3 damage, and 12 does 4, plus where applicable size bonuses. Size bonuses. For added realism, the judge can apply an attack bonus to specific weapons when certain conditions are met. He just has these weapons and the conditions. For instance, a great axe is a +2 bonus against shields, requires 20 feet free space. Great sword gets +1, requires 20 feet. Arrow gets +1, long range only, 50 foot minimum. I think I would probably try it with these rules, like the more lethal.
That kind of feeds into my D&D brain right there a little bit more.
Yeah, it's that just a little bit of crunch, just a little soupçon of crunch.
Yeah.
The above are situational modifiers designed to speed up combat and encourage clever strategy. And the judge can limit additional damage, blah blah blah. Do what judges want to do, because there's a lot of judge fiat in this. There's a lot of the judge can decide and figure it out.
Yeah, that was the example I was giving my son today when we were in the car. It's like, dude, it's your game. You could say what you want. It doesn't really matter.
Do whatever you want. Divining spirits. Might be interested in this. Divination and prophecy are among the oldest forms of magic and the easiest to reconcile to a historical game. Like true sorcery, any character wanting this ability must include something in their personal background, taking care to specify the means by which they prophecy consistent. That's poor writing. With the culture and period in question. So astrology, all periods, and takes 1 day and requires a ritual preparation per the judge. Entrails, so reading the entrails, it's the Hellenistic period. It requires 1 day with ritual preparation. Lots and runes, all periods, 1d6 minutes, includes tarot and other folk methods. Scrying, medieval, requires 1 hour and a ritual. Signs, omens, all periods, 1d6 minutes. Note here that standard divination does not expend any luck except to improve dice or impose armor restrictions. So you can divine spirits while wearing armor. When attempting to divine, the player rolls as follows, noting that clarity can be improved by spending luck. Okay. So if they try and divine something, like, I think the judge would have to know the answer to whatever they're trying to figure out, and give varying degrees of accuracy or information.
Unless their name's Tristan and they're using the mythic and they're just rolling for a couple words.
But then we're asking a real oracle. It's not me, man. It's the dice.
It's the dice.
The dice.
The bones have spoken.
I am merely a vessel through which the dice speak. Everyone else has to seek a practitioner, i.e. an oracle, and get what they pay for. So to pay for predictions, you roll 2d6. A 2 to 10, it costs 25 silver, and the prediction is cryptic and indistinct. You got an 11, it's 50 silver pieces, and you get moderate accuracy, or 12, 100 silver pieces, and it's specific.
See, you upcharge and you get what you want.
Yeah. Well, you got to roll the 2d6. It's dependent on what your roll is.
Yeah.
Finally, divination may only be attempted once per game week, and this includes seeking knowledge from witches and the like. All right. course, calling upon spirits to query is usually more effective and yields more detailed and useful results. However, their answers may be limited to the being's sphere of knowledge per the following: demon, Christian or Jewish culture, political affairs, power.
Oh, you froze up. Damn you, StreamYard. I don't know if you can hear this. I don't know if we got technical difficulties. Okay. You can hear me? Okay. It must be on Tristan's then. Oh, no. It's left me to run the show. Well, tonight on this episode of Unsolved Mysteries, we will discover that the small town in the Northeast has had a shortage of butter. I'll see if Tristan pops back in. Entertain us. What am I, a monkey? Dance, monkey, dance. There he is. He's back.
Same thing that happened.
That's all right. I'm used to being all by myself sometimes, so that's fine.
There you go. It was
all by myself.
Yeah, it was the same thing that happened when we were playing last time. The timer for my daughter.
We
set time. I was like, oh no.
I was starting to wonder if that wasn't the case, and on my end, I was gonna have to text my wife. I'm like, hey, can you fix that?
Fix this for me?
I know you're in Tennessee right now, but
well, that's not what I wanted. What's going on?
I can see your desktop.
No,
I can see your messages.
This is the one I was looking for.
Yeah, don't want to see your porn.
No, don't worry about that. I don't have any. Okay, where were we? Summoning the djinns. You get predictions. And Elf Fairy, Nordic, medieval, supernatural lore, and destiny. Finally, while the church generally frowned upon divination, it had a tradition of prophecy, i.e. mystical visions, treated as signs and omens.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I'm not enhancing. I don't want you guys to see my incredibly cluttered desktop on my Mac.
That's all right.
On my Mac, for some reason, I haven't created folders. I just have everything all over the desktop.
Yeah, that's kind of a new revelation for me after like 20 some odd years of using a computer. Like, oh, I could create a folder.
Yeah, and then folders within folders.
Yeah.
All right, so faith and appeals. Religion was undoubtedly important to ancient and medieval man, and even if the judge prefers a strictly historical chronicle devoid of working magic, a belief that the gods were on their side no doubt added immeasurably to their morale. Judges are encouraged to research their desired period and utilize the following. Pagans and Christians alike can make offerings to their gods. This is what I was talking about before.
Yeah.
The former using animal sacrifice, nice, and the latter using monetary tithes and confession to a priest. For game purposes, each requires payment in silver, either to procure a suitable animal and or as a sign of goodwill towards the god and their priesthood.
Yeah.
So
pay up.
Yeah. 100. Pay up and save yourself. 100 silver pieces, you add +1 to all non-combat actions. 250 silver pieces, you get +1 to all non-combat actions, or you get +1 to all actions, including combat. And 500 silver pieces, special dispensation +1 to all actions, including combat.
Mm-hmm.
So blessings never last more than 1 day, and interventions possible as per the following. Supplicant is rewarded with a special blessing in the form of appropriate bonuses, noting that these begin immediately and last one game day at the most and sooner. For game purposes, all sacrifices require 1d6 hours of meditation and prayer, with Hellenistic rituals being especially elaborate and lengthy. Those who pay for special dispensations are entitled to the indicated bonuses and may, at their option, request a spiritual intervention like striking a critical blow for maximum damage or performing some other non-combat action. This requires a roll on the following table, and when successful, the desired outcome happens. So 1 to 2, no effect, prior bonuses remain. 3 to 4, partial success per the judge. And 5 to 6, success with divine manifestations. Okay, interesting. So prayers are answered beyond expectation.
Sweet.
So yeah, you have your it's like the divine intervention spell, kind of, but it's more rooted in reality.
Yeah.
Although I would say this would be kind of magic-y too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're sticking us like if it no magic historical setting, then yeah, be like, yeah, the clergy could BS you and be like, oh yeah, we prayed real hard for you, God's gonna help you. Yeah, sure, you still got the plague, but hey, that's fine. But you're gonna go to heaven.
Yeah, exactly. And this just goes over gameplay the original way. I was saying the judge develops the setting and everything. Not much else going on there. It's pretty much basically what we already know. Read in that. Just talking about Dave Wesley, and it's got this little excerpt from I guess David Wesley wrote a book called A History of Braunstein.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to say, wasn't that covered in The Secrets of Blackmore a little bit? They talked about.
They did talk about Braunstein.
Yeah,
I don't know if they talked about his book. It came out in 2008, but
well, it was like a blurb, and I do remember that, so it wasn't huge. But
I have to watch that movie again because that's what kind of that documentary is what kind of set me off on the looking at Blackmore and studying like how like pre DnD was. Because when they talked about Braunstein, like that sounds like a lot of fun. Like nobody knew the rules, and they're like interacting with each other, and then going to the referee and being like, "Okay, this is what we do," and that sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds very cool.
Yeah, it makes me want to check out Questing Beast. One had a video about the setting.
Yeah, I did, and it's got like. Back of this has judges.
Oh, and Joy Wargaming did one too. I didn't realize that. A year ago.
I watched the Questing Beast one.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good. It was interesting. They didn't show.
Yeah,
so he just talked about playing it at.
Yeah, well,
Gary Con or Gen Con. One of
yeah, something like
that. I think it was Gary Con.
It might have been Gary Con, but I mean it's a 12-minute video, so it's not gonna be a lot.
He talked about playing it, and then it showed like the wrap up of the game with David Wesley and like the players and like talking about like what they were doing and stuff like that. But the way he was talking about it, like it wasn't like this. It wasn't like this is very much a role-playing game, just as rules light as possible, almost.
Yeah,
but it's still trying to keep the feel of what the Braunstein game is with that, while giving you something kind of familiar and with some more concrete rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he had another one, the Blackmore game he played in.
Mm-hmm.
And like that one, he even says like there was nobody knew what the rules were. It didn't even, it seemed like he had the rules in his head and running it. Like there was no information. Nobody had any.
But I just went along with it. I'm like, okay,
yeah. But this it looks very looks like fun. I don't know what I would do the historical thing. I would make it my own.
I as much as I love history, but it's like there are a lot of interesting things that happen in actual history, but I do love the flavor of adding in that magic and supernatural.
Yeah, especially but if you make the magic more grounded, 3 spells per day.
Yeah, I mean it's not like you're getting fireball.
And then you have to I'm opening my adult drink, my second adult drink. So then you can even make it so that they have to find they either have to find these spells or study them or find someone who can teach them to them, and it's not just they know them other than the divination. But I think there's lots of ways you could play this.
Yeah, I think if you really want to add magic, you're really gonna have to think about what kind of magic you were talking. Is this potion magic, or say, I want this person to fall in love with me, or I want this person to listen to every little command I have to say, or I'm giving him I'm cursing him.
Yeah, I think it would have to be things like cursing and mass ritual magic. Yeah. I think it would have to be some ritual magic kind of thing.
Ritual, yeah.
You're not firing lightning bolts out of your hands.
So you're I'm you're that one lady at the edge of town that's all squirrely looking, and she's like, I give you that cursed eye, you're gonna have syphilis for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Or if you what was I listening to? I was listening to a podcast and they're talking about it was a town, probably in Massachusetts or New England somewhere. The town had burned a witch, and
in Massachusetts, never.
Yeah, strange, right? And then before they lit the fire, she cursed them all and said the town is going to have a wretched stench until everyone who has committed me to death is repents or something like that. And so they put her to death, and then down the line they built a dam or something to divert a river, and all the fish ended up on shore. No, it was the local farmer was sending pigs to be slaughtered, but they couldn't get across the river because the flooding.
Yeah.
And so he said he said, oh, well, pigs can swim, so just let them swim across the river. And they ended up going over a waterfall, but all being stuck on the rocks and rotting. And then the whole town stank. And then so there's it's the curse came true. So the people who judged her repented. The next day there was a heavy rain and all the pigs fell into the river.
That smells just awful, because I live near a rendering plant. So if the wind comes out of the south, you just smell it. Thank God it doesn't. Thank God it only happens very little, and it's just the worst smell.
Yeah. So but you can have magic like that. That's it seems like a spell, but it's just a lot of a lot of coincidences.
You I curse you to have dead babies, and may you never have the whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, but you definitely I definitely wouldn't have oh well, there's wands and there's staves and there's scrolls and there's
Well,
weapons that are
unless you want things like,
magical. Yeah,
like
you
those,
can, but
like, oh, you got the Ark of the Covenant. Okay,
yeah.
sure, why not?
Is
I
it
mean, it's a
magical
historical
relics?
item.
Yeah, magical relics would be
Relics,
one
yeah.
thing, but I wouldn't be like, oh well, you get a
Well, we have this,
+1 sword and you get a +1 sword. Like,
or yeah, you got the Staff of Ra. I mean, really, honestly,
yeah,
heck, you could play this game and set up a future for Indiana Jones. I mean, come on.
yeah, that's true. You could set up the whole thing. Saints and
Relics.
relics.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, when you look at all the holy relics that they have, like in various churches and stuff, that are supposed like.
Yeah, that reminds me of like a Supernatural episode where somebody was selling off all these like religious relics that were being smuggled out of heaven, and so they're like somebody broke up Moses' staff, and it was like almost like a shape of a gun. Somebody's going around and killing people with a piece of Moses' staff. It's like, what
That's
the
funny.
Hell?
Yeah, so I would definitely play this. It is like I've talked to you about. I've done it on my channel, like the game I've been writing, the Rising Empires game, which is kind of like,
oh yeah,
I wanted it to be like this, and when I was reading this, I'm like, this is a lot of like kind of the same ideas that I had in mind. Like mine's not historically based, but like 2d6 rule. Like originally I had it so it was just character description, is like told you what you could do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's dumbed down enough that it's even like easier than using like chainmail.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I don't think there's.
You don't even have to think about like am I going man to man? Am I going to this? Like that. And
yeah, and then like you can easily just make up your own war game to put in this.
It didn't have any mass combat in it at all, did it?
No, it had like not really rules for sieges, but there's more like ideas for how
you're not large forces against each other.
It does have like kind of rules about like if you're like people are climbing up ladders, like how that would work. Like they can't fight back and they're susceptible to getting hit by arrows and boiling oil and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you got your first man's going to take the most damage versus the guy behind him, unless you get. But if he's going to fall down, how many guys is he going to take behind him, out with him?
Yeah, exactly. I'll show it. Has engineering tables. Like, it's got like castle defenses, and then like how many hits something can take.
Yeah.
So like again, everything's got luck, right? So like a wall of stone takes 50 to 75 hits and stuff.
And that's, I mean, you could do like large armies with luck, I guess. So you could say, okay, say you got 100-man army here and you got 100-man army here. You could do each like basically.
If each of them has
100
luck or 12 luck,
10 luck or something like
that. Or just do like you could do like luck per group of men. So if you have like say a group of 60 men, you say okay, that's 100 luck or something like that.
Yeah.
And then like they deal X number of damage. Like
did
I explain to you was it with you? I was explaining how I did my mass combat rules for my game.
It might have been, but
it was what it's. I think I'm gonna edit it because it seems like a bit much. But so basically, the idea is you have for each group of soldiers, you have 3 rows of 6 soldiers. Each of those soldiers is worth 1d6. So if you have 2 of those full groups going against each other, each side rolls 18d6, and a 6 on any of a 6 removes 1 man. So if you roll like 4 6s, it removes 4 of the opponents, and then they would roll 14 dice. Yeah. So every time you lose men, the amount of dice you roll goes down.
Yeah.
So at first it's like, yeah, you're rolling this giant handful of dice, or like you roll like multiple times. Then after 2 or 3 rounds, like your goes down really, really quick.
Yeah.
I think I might change it because it's still like 18 D6s is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dice to roll.
Yeah. I'm trying. Yeah, that would be a lot.
I don't know. I think this is pretty good. So if you guys like it, go check it out. It's called Barons of Braunstein, and it's on Drive Through RPG. I will, after the stream, I will add the link to the description because I didn't do that. I just made the I made the description and the thumbnail in like what was it, like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Once we found out the game was canceled, we're like, oh, better do something. Stream it.
Well, we didn't have to do something, but I figured since we've done this a couple times, and we never stream anything. We're just talking.
Yeah, we just end up talking for a couple hours, and we're like, oh,
yeah, I know.
We always end up having good chats, so
yeah.
All right.
This one felt a little more structured.
Yeah. Well, so when it's just us and there's no one listening, it's just us talking shit about WotC.
Yeah.
Or you going, you should really try the One Ring. I'm like, maybe one day.
And look what you're doing now.
Yeah, I know.
It only took me a year after I got it. I still haven't even run it, and I'm probably the biggest hypocrite about that.
Wow.
I blame that on ADHD though.
Probably. Yeah.
Probably.
We'll have to play it as a group one day. It's actually pretty fun.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Mercurius, for joining us.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I waited and didn't expect anybody to show up, but
yeah, I was literally like, no one's gonna watch this.
So
thank you
for didn't bother.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for becoming a member. That's really awesome. And I think that's it for tonight. It's been over an hour and a half, and I think it's time for bed. I'm going away with my wife tomorrow to the townships.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I gotta be a responsible adult.
I'm giving my kids away tomorrow.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah. Going to my parents' house.
Whee.
All right, everyone. So go subscribe to RPG Dad. Do you want to plug your channel?
Yeah. That dusty old thing. Yeah, RPG Dad. I don't know if I actually have that link here. Let's see if I've had it. I'm gonna be lazy.
I did tag you in the description, so
you did tag me, but I can also do this, where I could just plug it into the chat.
You know when this is over, the chat's not going to replay. Huh?
Well, Mercurius could subscribe if he wants.
Yeah.
Or,
you should do. Put it in the comments. Put it in the comments of the video.
To show up. Yeah. Or do you have to approve it? Or do I have to do it in private chat?
No, it showed up, but it's not like a full it's not a full link.
That's weird.
I'll put a link to your channel in the description.
Yeah, you just have to do that.
Yeah.
I'm
go subscribe to RPG Dad. He does videos occasionally.
Occasionally. I should be better about it. You see me more in like other people's stuff, like Bear the Gen X GM or Shadow and Sun or something like that sometimes. So
you gotta get back on it. You gotta get Paul to record.
Yeah, when he gets his sound fixed.
Yeah. So. And then maybe next Friday we'll actually play Twilight 2000. I was thinking about it. We could segue our Twilight 2000 game into a Fallout game.
We could. I thought about that too the other day. That dawned on me. We could do Fallout. I mean, it could make sense.
Well, Twilight 2000, like it kind of makes sense. Like they're over in Europe, and
or we could stick with the thought of it goes into Blade Runner and then Alien.
Oh yeah, there's that one too, eh?
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to
Because it
figure
kind of makes sense because Blade Runner was like set after World War III, and
Was it really?
yeah,
Okay.
and Russia had kind of won in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it is kind of the same system.
Yeah,
Somewhat the same system.
somewhat. Well, it's still the 0-0 engine, but
Yeah.
just some tweaks.
Yeah, like all of them. All right. Yeah, that's it for us tonight. Hope you guys
All
enjoyed
right.
it. Had fun. So that's it for me. I'm Tristan, Heroes and Homebrew. And you are...
I am the RPG dad. Listen to your daddy.
Awesome. Save a seat for me at your table. Night, guys.
All right.